after the grand inaugural sessions that we had in the morning, in which we had a keynote address by one of our great thinkers, philosopher, scholar, and also a statesman, Dr. Karan Singh. He gave a very elaborate exposition, and his understanding he shared with us on science, religion, and philosophy. As I mentioned, in today's world, reconciling science and religion in a contemporary context, in a pragmatic context, and also in philosophic context is a big challenge. And that's what this conference is trying to do. We never discuss these issues except in thoughts like this, but this has been a recurring theme again and again on this platform, in this hall, or in conferences Professor Vishwarajbaug-Loni-Kalbhor has been organizing. We saw the practical value. I think the whole issue of that, when the policies and education and new education policy is talking about value education. We have been talking earlier also of value education, how to introduce it in school system, where do the values come from, what is the origin of the values, and if they are not followed, what happens, and if they are followed, what happens. In this session, we had a wonderful exposition on values that I have rarely seen. For example, Professor Jamkar just now brought about that there is a science behind values. Why do we do happen? This was not, I think, not understood. We have started understanding, and we have not fathomed it yet. The science behind values. It is now time that we are looking at, there is a science of happiness. We never thought of that kind of way. If I am happy, then there is a science behind it. And once you understand there is a science behind it, I can be happy perhaps when I am not. And why am I unhappy? What is the reason for that? These dimensions we are not taught. The teachers are not particularly taught. The researchers are not taught or understand. And that's why our education remains incomplete. I will not say that it is incomplete. And it is this conference, says Professor Kalbhor, that we have brought these issues to the fore. What we are taught, why does in Nanyang Technological University, which is one of the recent universities which are not known in Singapore, which is not coming from Singapore, not known widely in the education spheres, suddenly comes in the top ranking of the world. And as was brought out by Dr. Puneet Narula, it has not just happened. There is a reason, there is a rigorous discipline, the mission behind it, and what was followed, not only just articulated, followed over the years, and suddenly our university, a university becomes a top-ranking university of the world. So this is the lesson to be told. And behind these are, I think, great values, and they are universal values. They are not limited to Singapore, or they are not limited to a particular university and all that kind of thing. This was brought. Any one of us who want to build a university, we must understand these great examples before us, which are before us, which we never imagined before. So I think there is so much to be learned on that. I will focus on the other aspect of it. How do these values emerge actually in the philosophical sense and also in a scientific sense and in a spiritual sense? When we utter these words, science and spirituality, particularly, we see this wherever Professor Kalbhor has been, Vishwarajbaug-Kalbhor has been there, and we have taken this topic to our discussion, that unless these two are reconciled, even going beyond, we are synthesized together, we'll always have half knowledge. In spite of so much of advances in each of the fields, we are going, great universities, great infrastructure, great teachers, we seem to be not advancing as a human society, the world's way. There is still so much of violence. There is still so much of misunderstanding. There is still so much of hatred, perhaps more than that. That means, I feel, that means our knowledge, requires a paradigm shift. It is still half knowledge. And that's why when we see that half knowledge is dangerous, and we see some of the vikrutis or some of the great disparities and aberrations that we see, it is because of half knowledge. One of the things which I wanted to bring, I think we wanted to bring out in this session was this issue of what is science and what is spirituality. That's the title of the session itself. See, science is about knowing, in general sense, it is a valid knowledge, not value, valid knowledge. Knowledge based on certain principles, certain assumptions, certain axioms, which we take for granted. I don't want to go to the philosophical aspects of this whole thing. This one. We say that it's evidential knowledge, evidence-based knowledge, logic-based knowledge, it's a rational knowledge. And we try to see the world through that mirror. And you start understanding this world. Slowly understanding this world and develop the edifice of science in different disciplines. Many people believe that what is the evidence of this? There is no proof for this. If there is no proof for this, then it is a false knowledge. It is a non-valid knowledge. But now we are understanding, I think we must understand as teachers, that the world that we observe, I think as a physicist, as a student of quantum mechanics, is a very, very small world. Today, what we observe, what I see, what I hear, what I touch, is a very, very minor part of the world that exists. In spite of the fact that we have telescopes, we have many things which I think trying to fathom this whole cosmos. In spite of that, we must understand as students and teachers, this is just a touching a minuscule of the universe that exists, and believing that it is complete may be wrong. In ourselves, through my sensory apparatus, I touch this world. And I have lived my life, but the mind which I talk about, which I exist with, I have never seen, I will never see. I can never touch. And beyond that, the spirit, what we could call soul, or the spirit, this kind of thing, is so vast, so infinite, that we don't know about existence. So what we teach about the world, the nature of reality, what we say about it is a very important part of it, but it's very, very insignificant part of it. Spirituality is like that. The spirituality is the question which has brought forth in a totally different sense the aspect of science, the dimension of quantum mechanics, that I know this, the world exists around me, I see, I touch, I modify, I interact with it, kind of thing. But who is trying to know? This is the fundamental question. Who in me is trying to know about what is this quest of knowledge? To understand that fundamental nature is to understand spirituality. When we say that whole world is my family, what is the proof of that? When you ask this fundamental question, why compassion, why friendship, why respect, all these values come from very fundamental, I think, dimension of spirituality. Today we talked about practical aspects of values. There is also a deep philosophical aspect of these values come from. And we are trying to synthesize both. It is practically useful to live my everyday, but to make my life better. to make my institutions better, but there is another dimension to make the entire humanity better. And these both dimensions we are discussing in this thing, and I feel that sessions like this should be conducted, I think should be done first with our teachers, first with ourselves first, and our teachers. Once we understand these values, we'll be able to communicate with, otherwise our education will remain incomplete. I think this has been a very useful session, unfolding the different dimensions and why it is being echoed here again and again. And I think we should be going better and establish better education systems and their values in our future education. Thank you very much. I thank all the speakers for unfolding different dimensions of our education here.